Hi, welcome to Berries in Tea with Nigora, episode 14. And today we're discussing men's sexuality with Walid. Walid also took us last month through men's health, emotional health, and how we can help them. And today we're discussing something a little bit more important, something a little bit more relevant and interesting. So we're inviting Walid to join our live. Maran dear, see where he's at. Hi, Walid.
Hi, Nigora. How are you?
It's so good to have you again.
Great to be here with you again. Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. So last time you left us with so much knowledge about men's health and emotional health, and how we women really need to just step back and let them heal amongst a circle of men, which I think was a great advice, by the way. I took it really deep to heart. And today we're discussing men's sexuality. So hot topic. I was even thinking, should I really have hot tea or just a cold glass of water?
I'm with you on the tea part.
So start me off, Walid. Tell us, what is it that we need to know about men's sexuality?
Sexuality is a scary topic in culture, in religion. It's taboo. Yet I feel through my own exploration and experience, it really holds some incredible, magical, spiritual gifts. And that goes for everybody. It's not specific to men. It's actually, in my understanding, amplified when it is shared, especially in a committed relationship. And that's just kind of my understanding in the lineage that I come from. And then this could be, heterosexual, bisexual. It really doesn't matter. It's just the ability to exchange sexual energy between lovers in a committed relationship that really heightens that kind of experience. Maybe let me take a step back a little bit and just say, this whole topic has really exploded over the past decade, and definitely for the men's side of things, I feel over the past couple of years. And I started my quest just really questioning what it's all about. I was interested in philosophy and psychology and yoga, and when I was in university, I kind of delved into a lot of these things. But then I found a huge disconnect when it came to sexuality, either with the shame around it or the taboo around it. And even though I was in a very open society, it was still kind of kept, in a kind of different box, right? And when I stepped into it, I was very fearful. Like it was kind of new territory and didn't know what to expect. And I feel compared to my friends, I was kind of a late bloomer. I was around 21 when I first had my sexual experience, and it just blew my mind. And I was like, there's a lot more that needs to come into this. And I started to read a lot more about spirituality and sexuality. And then at the time, I think it was Sting that came out and said, yes, Tantra, and I can have sex for God knows how many hours. And then it was just like, what is this realm of possibilities, when it was very kind of linear? You go in, you have sex, and that's about it. And that's kind of where I started to read a lot of Osho. I got into integral theory that was started by Ken Wilber. And through that, I reached Deida, which was, somebody who's openly talking about sexuality, openly talking about polarity between masculine and feminine, regardless of what kind of relationship that you're having. And that kind of insight was just like, this is so nourishing. And through that, I'm still discovering. So it's not something where you just say, oh, I want to be a multi-orgasmic man, and all I have to do is do 3 things, and then that's it. It doesn't work that way. It's really a lifelong journey of reprogramming from the kind of influence of society and religion and taboos that we've had on ourselves, and then really experimenting on where you want to go. And for that, I just want to say, everybody is unique in the way that they discover their sexuality and in the way that this manifests to them. And there's no one way to do it. But it's such a fun and joyous journey to go and undertake that I my message here is just like, there's so many possibilities. And if your sexuality has reached sort of a dead end, or you feel kind of either a shame or embarrassment or kind of a lack of hope, I just want to come in and say that there's so much more to discover. And my interest got much more into the masculine side of things and men's sexuality, because I feel like a lot of things, it's been given a bad rap, right? So men think about sex a lot more, they're aggressive, the way that they have sex, or the way that they are either stuck on porn, or they kind of identify with sexuality, is not coherent with a relationship, a long-term relationship with women. And, you know, so just some statistics where semen loss. So let me just say a few things, because I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but I just want to maybe put some headers in there. Men can orgasm without ejaculating. That's one. Men can.
You were the first one who told me this 2-3 years ago, and I was like, you blew my mind with that. What? How is that possible? So you're saying it again, and again my mind is blown, and I'm sure a lot of women here and men can be a bit shocked as well.
Yeah, I mean, for teenage men, there's no onboarding to this. You know, it's like you're a bunch of guys, you're probably in the locker room, you're talking about stuff, you enter the world of pornography, and then you're left alone, right, to deal with it. And then you get a girlfriend, and then you're probably just imitating what you've seen on the screen, and nobody's really onboarded you. There's no way to do it. There's no tribal group of men, or there's no father figure that's there to give you kind of a holistic undertaking. And for that, it's just like, okay, you know, a young teenager has experienced ejaculation, and that was, you know, fused with orgasm, and that's it. And that's probably it for the rest of their life, unless something comes in that says, okay, there are different ways to do this. And while I was reading that, it also blew my mind at the same time. How could that be possible? Like, you know, and then sort of the benefits of doing that. And then, you know, I started to read a lot more, and, you know, the research says that 1 drop of semen equals 60 drops of blood. So you can imagine when that ejaculation takes place, what happens to the energy, right? And then it was like, okay, what do you do about this? Well, then with sexuality comes a lot of creativity, and comes a lot of well-being. And you can take this energy and you can recirculate it and use it for other means. And now it's just like, okay, this is a whole world, or a science, that actually can come into our consciousness and can come to our awareness, that we can move it in different ways. And then, you know, you get into relationships, and then you see this sort of dichotomy of how 80% of men ejaculate within 2 minutes of penetration, while it takes women on average 20 minutes to reach orgasm. So you have this balance where, like Deida says, that you have blow torches when it comes to men, and you have slow heating crock pots when it comes to women, right? And, you know, a lot of it is just not fitting. And there must be something, you know, deeper that each of the sexes can do to heighten their pleasure, get their sexual health to a level that is both pleasurable and both very, very beneficial. And that's when, you know, it started to really blow my mind in terms of how deep all of this can go. And by the way, I'm not, you know, I don't have an education in this. I am not certified to do this. This is pure interest that has weaved its way through my failed relationships and through ways to really just enjoy it and understand it and accept it. And there are extremes when it comes to this, because when I got into yoga, there's a lineage called brahmacharya, which is basically no ejaculation, never. And then there's this no fap movement that says no porn, no ejaculation, ever. And although initially when I read this, when I embarked on this, I was like, yeah, this is the way to go. It's black or white. It's nothing, or, you know, all this junk that's out there. And I felt that didn't work for me. It wasn't one extreme or the other, because I felt like the big part of it really took away from the pleasure. And all of that was very mechanical for men to sit there and do their practices. And it was almost like they were using the women as a tool just for their own ego to get to where they need to go. And that really isn't the essence of what conscious sexuality is and conscious lovemaking is. So I feel like there's a huge spectrum, and my message here is that there's a lot of fantastic people out there doing a lot of work on this, and a lot of it is just brand new, bringing Taoist and tantric traditions, and really helping in terms of relationships. And that's when, for me, it was a big wake-up call, because I've been through tumultuous relationships, and I was trying to bring in that sexual aspect to benefit myself. I felt myself in relationships very needy, because in my programming, it was, men love to have sex, and they just, and when you get married, then all your worries are going to go away, because you have this one person who's going to fulfill your needs, especially when it comes to sexuality. And actually, that's totally not the case. And taking the responsibility back into channeling my own sexuality and really understanding that, I feel it expanded my horizons in terms of understanding my own awareness and being much more conscious when I come into a relationship. And the intricacy of that can be found with an amazing guy called Blunderfield. And I've put a lot of links underneath the chat, this live, and I'm sure in the Instagram video, where people that are curious can just click on these different links. When it comes to podcasts, when it comes to people doing things on the spiritual side of things and on the relationship side of things. And Blunderfield, he's called the Naked Yogi, I think, the Wild Naked Yogi, does online men's circles that helps channel energy and circulate energy based on Taoic as well as Kundalini yoga techniques. And for me to have a brave man like that just come out and be completely open and show how these, sexual energetic circles take place within yourself, and then channeling it with your partner was incredible, So I feel like there's a lot to be learned, and it's just bringing awareness to that, where you slow the pace down again, and you really come back to the beauty of touch, of connectivity, of really understanding yourself first. If you haven't done this, if you haven't found pleasure, whether you're a man or woman or identified that way, how can you expect to go to a partner and then expect them to fulfill all of your needs? That's not going to happen unless you've kind of delved into that yourself, and then be able to share an openness. And again, like I said, this takes years and years and years of practice just to undo what has been done before, but also to slowly, take this step by step into the place that you want to take it. And everybody's different. Everybody's, kinks are different, and everybody's sexual desires are different. And there's no one size fits all, but it's really about the adventure and discovery for yourself, for your partner, if you're in a partnered relationship, that'll take you to where you need to go.
So you mentioned how men can have an orgasm without ejaculating. And actually that would be, from a physical perspective, that would be a little bit healthier considering the amount of blood that is required for 1 millimeter of sperm, right? And that's a lot of energy requirement. That's a lot of effort for the body to release that sperm. So it is healthier physically to not ejaculate, but you can have an orgasm. But how is that possible? How can we teach our men? Or it's not like this little technique. There's obviously a lot of work involved in that.
Yeah, I think before I answer that question, I just want to say, being militant or black and white about no ejaculation or ejaculation is not my understanding. It's not my understanding to say never ejaculate, because then what you get is a very egotistical, powered up, sort of old school masculine power that I don't think serves anybody. And I think it's not just based on that, it's a very holistic approach, which means if you are practicing semen retention or non-ejaculation, and I'll get into that a little bit, but not channeling that energy out to your heart by doing yoga, for example, or doing Tai Chi. If you're not taking that and going and playing boxing or running, or if you're a gym enthusiast, or if you're a painter or a musician, or channeling it into your family or into your work, that blockage doesn't serve the whole idea of semen retention is not just the health benefits, but actually how you can channel that sexual energy to reach the goals that you want and to live the kind of life that you want with that kind of consciousness and awareness. So I just want to be very clear that it's not just about, no, guys, don't ejaculate anymore, and that's the end of it, and then things will be fine for you. It actually wasn't. For me, for years, I became superheated, overheated, because I was trying to keep that sexual energy within me. And I started to have lower back problems because of that. You know, so there are very adverse energetic blocks that may happen if the channels are not working, if all the chakras are not working and opening together. And I think that that's very important. How do men do it? My advice is read a book called The Multi-Orgasmic Man by Mantak Chia. He's a Taoist professional who works with healing energy, with sexual healing energy. And he has this beautiful graph, and I wish I had it for you. But basically it says, you know, men, when they start, they get erect, and then they ejaculate, and then their energy goes plummeting down. Yes. And the idea of a multi-orgasmic man or semen retention is to go up, but not go up to the point of no return, where it just becomes a spasm for a man, right? Where it's just he ejaculates and that's it. It's actually to be conscious of that level right before. So let's say 80%, 85%, 90%. And that's what we call edging, right? So getting to that point and then kind of cooling down and circulating that energy either by doing something called microcosmic orbit breath. So you channel that energy by taking deep breaths. There are certain things that you can do. And then keeping that energy there and then going a little bit higher. And then going a little bit higher. And then when that happens, and if the man eventually ejaculates, he doesn't fall back down to zero. He still maintains high sexual vibrancy, just because he was able to channel his energy into different places. So it's really a beautiful discovery and a beautiful journey for men to go through to be able to understand their body a little bit more. So, you know, having a daily sexual practice, having a daily, what we call sexual kung fu, where the man is, you know, getting to know his anatomy a little bit better, getting to know his prostate, his scrotum, his levels of what turns him on super fast. And I'm not advocating for, you know, porn. I'm not advocating for something that that you don't need a third party or anything to do with this. It's all internal. For me, I learned that my body starts shaking, and that's the kind of sexual energy that I know is circulating through my body. And there's a lot of different ways that I can channel that energy either where I need it. If it's a day of work, through my head, through my throat to speak my truth, if it's within my body, you know, and then I can have my day at such a higher vibration than at other times. So there are many, many techniques. It's not fast, but it's also, you know, something that you need to be careful, because there are, you know, places where, you know, you can, I know initially when I started to do this work and I started to ejaculate while I was trying to keep my semen retained, I would feel a sense of hopelessness. Like, you know, this doesn't work for me. Am I not doing it right? There was a lot of shame, but it really took time to unwind and take it to the place that you need to do it. And there's a lot of things that help. You're not by yourself to be able to do this. There's a lot of literature out there. If you're a reading kind of person, there are a lot of movements that can be done, and there's a lot of herbs as well. So I think while you ejaculate, then you're able to replenish this in a very organic, natural way, get your testosterone levels back up, get your energy back up. And I know a lot of men suffer from erectile dysfunction. So, you know, I'm only talking about, you know, these men that are able to, you know, go off very quickly. But when it comes to erectile dysfunction, there's a lot of emotional blockages that have happened there, either through childhood, either through shame. And still, all of these techniques and all of these different links and passage and different ways to understand the healing power of sexuality. And I feel like there's so much to be learned and experienced for men specifically to be able to be the person that they want to be and the highest version of themselves. And that was the whole impetus for this.
This is incredible. You know, when you talk about how we men can sort of come to that 80% of, I guess, orgasm, right? At 85% when they think, you know, they're there, then you take a step back, take a few deep breaths, and you can do that with your partner, which connects the intimate connection even more, makes it so much more conscious and deep and really quite um, cosmic, right? So take a step back, lots of deep breaths, you know, connect, do whatever else, and then go back at it again, and then reach that point again, and that, that definitely will prolong from going from 2 minutes to like, I don't know, half an hour. And this is what is multiple orgasmic man, right?
Yes, and it's done with both sexes as well. If a female doesn't understand her own pleasure, how she wants to be taken, touched, what gets her to the levels of orgasm, then you know it takes two. I'm just saying it's not the onus is on the female or the onus is on the men. It's actually the onus is on yourself and your own uniqueness. And you know, getting to a level where you're having this prolonged multiple orgasmic sex with a partner is not easy. And for men, you know, being by yourself and doing some sexual kung fu is one thing, but then having your partner there and, you know, a naked body and you're inside them is a completely different mind-blowing level. It's very, you know, it's that practice that takes you to where you need to go. It's not something that, you know, is going to happen overnight. But I think
Yeah.
the awareness and consciousness from both parties, while this is going, understanding that maybe, you know, the female needs to slow down at a certain point in time for a greater orgasm later on, supporting her man is great. Again, there is no one size fits all. And this is not really, you know, you're in your head saying, oh, I have to breathe 5 times in and 1 time out while you're having sex. Like that's not erotic and that's not fun for anybody. And,
Imagine.
and sometimes you just want to have barnyard sex and just go for it and come and that's fine and everything is great. So it's not that. It's really a choice. It's not for everybody, but it is a conscious choice to be able to live a authentic life, and be able to discover all the different beautiful spectrum of pleasure that you can have with yourself and with others, and to be able to really shine that energy through sexuality and sort of you know manifesting the things that you want through channeling your sexual energy. You know, that's the whole idea behind this. It's not about being in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the most orgasms in one day or having the most partners or whatever it is. Like that's, if that's your goal, then that's totally not what we're talking about. For me, it's been a real spiritual experience to be able to transform and transmute that energy into the desires of life and what you want to achieve through it.
Because that energy, Walid, that sexual energy is so powerful, right? So and I'm just connecting the dots here, if we, if men, well, actually both women and men, if we learn how to use that sexual energy and to transmute, how you say, into aspects of life, we'll be quite something.
I think that's the total sort of, you nailed it right there. You know, it's really about, you know, not this fast food culture of everything being consumed really fast and just doing it for the sake of doing it in a very animalistic way. We have this ability to really raise our understanding and consciousness on these beautiful, subtle, pleasurable, very pleasurable techniques. And you're right, in Vedic science, there's a lot of nutrients that come in with this. There's vitamins, minerals, trace elements, hormones, proteins, enzymes, you know, all this nourishing, what they in Vedics they call it the Amrit, which is the elixir of life. And this is what life is all about. I mean, this is how you procreate. This is the story of creation. This is how much energy is put into sexuality and is put through this love-making, you know, pleasurable experience. So why don't we, you know, lean into it a little bit more, slow it down a little bit more, experience it a little bit more, and understand the vastness of what is available for both sexes. And, you know, the healing aspect of it is unbelievable. People that have chronic pains, people that, you know, regular Western science was not able to deal with. This transmutation of sexual energy has opened up and healed so many organs that they have and so many different ailments that they have. And I feel like, you know, we can go into consuming things and we're okay with the yoga culture today, and we want to go organic, but then we have this powerhouse of energy, which is our sexuality, that can really transform our lives and the lives of others if we pay a little bit more attention to it and become, you know, sort of, you know, sensitive to what is happening within our own body. And it takes a long time. It takes years. People are more adept to it than others. And my own personal journey has been ups and downs. There are times where I've been, you know, on a certain path and I feel great about it, but then, you know, I feel like I've regressed. And I feel like that ebb and flow of understanding energy is just, that's the name of the game. You know, it's not about goal seeking, it's about understanding, and it's about, you know, slowly developing. And when I say years, like I came across this work and Deida when I was last year university. I was about 18 or 19. And then I started to read it. You know, I'm 42 now, and I feel like I'm still on the journey. You know, there are times when I don't want to read any books and any literature, and there are other times where it's a calling, you know, or I uncover something new and then I go through it. And that's why anybody who's really interested in this, there are incredible people doing work, and I really highly recommend that the curiosity takes over, and the pleasure takes over, and the sensitivity takes over, and the love for each other takes over.
But Walid, like, there are men that just so completely ignorant and numb. Not ignorant. Ignorant is not a nice word to describe a man. I'm sorry. Numb. And I had a conversation with someone the other day, a female who feels that she's literally being raped by her man because there's no connection, there's no sense, there's no emotion, there's nothing. It just needs to get the job done, and that's it. To a point where the person the female says, stop, I don't want, that's it. And you know, that's a huge crack in the relationship. So this work is so important, but I think people like you on this planet, there's like 2% of you guys here, you know, and then the rest are just so numb. And how do we even bring them to this question of, ooh, how can I be a little bit more conscious about my sexual energy?
Unfortunately, usually it comes through hitting rock bottom or insurmountable pain for the man when he feels that the family that he's tried to build or the person that he loves most is rejecting him, and things are just not working with the way that he's been doing things, you know. And it's through that a lot of times men start to ask, how can I do this differently? What path can I go? And everybody enters their path when they're ready. You know, there's no forcing any way to do this. And I feel like the only thing that, especially in this part of the world, we could just make things available for people. You know, I'm part of the Any Man group, and they've done a touch workshop recently. So we're bringing in teachers from abroad to be able to talk about sexuality and talk about things that really matter for men, not just the emotional well-being of them, but also the sexual well-being. There are Tantra workshops that are available, and that's all you can do. All you can do is make this information available. If somebody is curious, then they can take the step through. There's no easy way to do it. And you're right. Deida talks about 3 stages of awareness when it comes to sexuality. The first stage, what he calls macho jerks, and you know, and ladies that are just, you know, they go after money or they go after plastic surgery and stuff like that. The second stage is what he calls sort of the 50-50, where you start talking about things and say, you know, I was hurt by that comment, what do you think about it? And the third stage is really the spiritual stage, where it's just you are living your essence for a deeper purpose, and that opening into love and communion and union with each other becomes your purpose in life. And you're right, the percentage of people that are at the third stage is very, very little, because we are going through this evolution altogether. So I want to say there's nothing wrong with whatever stage that you're at, whatever stage your partner is at. The only thing that you can do is I would not advocate for that woman that said that to accept it or to take it. You know, it's actually part of the growth of the man for the woman to say, this is how I feel, this is how you're making me feel, so that the wake up moment comes. And that's her actually helping him get to where he needs to go, you know, if they want to remain in that relationship. So I'm totally against anybody feeling that you know, darkness or that rape feeling. And David Deida says very clearly the difference between the third stage ravishment of ultimate love and ravishment and dark energy and the first stage rape is love. If there's a heart connection while that happens, then it actually opens up both partners together. But without that heart connection and that awareness, then it feels like rape. And that's when that's not acceptable for either partner. So again, we're not against people experimenting and having their kinks, and I think that's fantastic, but we really need to differentiate what is going on internally and how that's projecting to your partner in the relationship. And there's a huge difference. And you can't mistake one for the other because of that specific love connection, heart opening, then it's a complete blissful experience. That dark energy is actually something that's great to be taken if a woman feels like she wants to be taken and pinned down. And that's, you know, the evolutionary kind of sexuality that we're talking about. So for the men out there, you know, this is not to think that, you know, we're prescribing something that you become robotic or mechanical or that's not natural. It's actually the other way around. It's actually listening to your body and your needs to be able to open that door of ecstasy, right? And getting to a place of incredible pleasure. Because a lot of the times for men trying to enter this work, it just feels like, just leave me alone. Like, this is how I do it. If she doesn't like it, or if he doesn't like it, then, you know, he's not meant for me and that's it. You know, and I feel like they really let go very early on in the process without experiencing the higher realms of potentiality that they may have. And that's why it takes time and that's why it takes perseverance.
Yes. I think I need a very cold glass of water right now. There was one more thing I wanted to ask you. What about, Walid? I know I can't put the dots together, but I want to ask you. I know someone else who's, you know, his partner is, you know, constantly trying to impose sex intimacy in the mornings, and the partner, after, you know, so many years of being in a relationship, it's like, oh, like, give me a break, like, I don't want to, or, you know, let's decrease the amount, or she just feels like she's lying there, and the, you know, and the guy's doing it. So is that again just like getting the guy to be deeply connected with his body, and but it's also woman's work too. So what would you advise here?
Yeah, I think a lot of
I wish I
these.
was in that, by the way.
I mean, it's a very difficult situation to be in for both sexes, because I feel that when the relationship is not sexually active and fulfilling for both parties, it becomes very draining and it becomes very, very hard for both. And I felt in my own experience, when the sexual relationship is going well, my work flourishes, my creativity flourishes, I'm just a happier person, I can give a lot more, and I'm really in my element. But take away that sexuality, and I feel like, you know, it's mayday, it's sirens, it's difficult, something's wrong, and my focus is completely shattered. And I'm sure for females, it could be, you know, when the relationship's going well and she feels loved and honored and appreciated by her man, then life is more beautiful and she's able to give her gifts a lot more. So there's a lot of emotional blockages that could be, I mean, it could be something as simple as there are other parts of the relationship that are not working, that don't allow the sexual part to be working. And before that happens, something needs to happen through therapy, right? What we're talking about is kind of the yoga of sexuality, where you can experience these high levels of ecstasy and understand your body a lot more. But if the blockages of therapy are there that haven't been taken into consideration, where the man either feels unappreciated or ashamed, or has probably some kind of sexual desire that he's unable to relay to his partner because of mommy issues, because he feels like that's too taboo. And so he remains in his cocoon and unable to say it. So there's so many ways. And, again, men's work and men's groups, and, I am being a little bit self-serving here, are very important to be able to peel the layers, to be able to get to those emotional blockages and address them so that the man can become aware of these, work on them, and then go back home and say, this is it. I was abused as a child, or I had this issue, and now it's clear to me, and I just want to tell you that, I love you, and I want to do these things, and this is the way to move it forward. So a lot of it is psychosomatic blockages that may have happened at different points in time. But look, for all the men out there that are interested in this, or all the partners of men that would like to lead the way into some potential healing, I'm available. I'm happy to talk about these things in a completely non-judgmental, very confidential way, and through any man. This is what we're there for. We have weekly meetings where men come and they talk about these things and they open up these things. And I feel like a lot of men are alone. And I've said this again last time. When they hear another man talking about a topic that is heavy on their heart, that they've been holding for decades, it's a domino effect, and they open up and they have an aha moment, and then the cycle starts moving again, so that they can go past that. So it really doesn't happen in isolation, guys. You may think that you're all alone and this doesn't work. This is not going to work, but actually there's a lot of ways to unravel that. And I think men's group is one of the better ways to do that, if you're not curious enough to do the education and try it yourself.
So what advice will you leave us women with this time? Oh, by the way, Walid, next Monday, I have this amazing girl from Australia who will talk to us about women's self-pleasure and the importance of self-pleasure. Even when you are in a relationship, that deep connection with your own body, with your yoni, with your, with your skin. And because if you don't know how to please yourself as a woman, and this is a journey I've been on as well, how do you expect your partner to help you out as well, right? So we have her on next Monday to talk to us about that. So how would you, what would you finish off, like what would you tell us? Because obviously most of my audience are women.
Yeah, no, that's a beautiful way. I mean, you answered the question, lead by example. If women are able to find their own pleasure points and their own sexuality and be able to grow that, it really creates a vacuum where a man has to step in, right? And has to grow as well. And if women are leading by example with incredible power that they have through their sexuality, it's the most attractive thing for a man. I mean, clearly, we know this. But if their partner is opening up and doing the work, then it really sucks the man in to be able to become more conscious and rise to the occasion and be able to be there for their partner. So it's always about yourself. There's very little you can do to force anybody to do anything else. You can lead by example. You can live your truth. And then the best thing that you can do is hope that the other person is inspired by that, and then can move towards those stages for their own self-fulfillment and betterment. So women, just there's so much power and there's so much pleasure, and I think it's a huge part of changing human consciousness. It's going to take both sexes to do that. So the onus is not on one, and I think that's fantastic that you have somebody talking about this, because it really takes both sides to be doing the work if we want to live more fulfilling lives. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Walid. This was so eye-opening, again, into men. and I know you've got a lot of resources that you send me that I will post to help our audience to go, take another step further into it by just observing, maybe, right? Just observing all these accounts, or these people, or these books, and maybe next step would be somehow to go into it, and it's totally up to you when you take that next step, right? So I'm excited.
It's just about teasing the curiosity, just letting them know that it's there, it's available. You want to take that step forward. It might be the right time, it may not, but it's really about teasing that curiosity and going for the plunge and discovering what's available for each person.
And you know what, Walid? Life would be so boring without sex.
I couldn't agree more.
So if we, and sometimes we just think that sex is just this, ruthless penetration, some sort of ecstasy at the end, and that's it, and baby making, right? So, but if you just told us that there's so many angles to it, so many aspects, so many colors that we can explore as men, but also as women, and also together, right? So it's incredible. So why don't we spice up our life a little bit?
Everybody should be doing this. You should be spending most of your time doing this, I think.
Yeah, let's all quit our jobs and get onto that train. I couldn't agree with you more, because when that channel is open, things start coming into your life. Money, prosperity, finance, health, easier connection with people, because also in Kundalini Yoga, it says that the pituitary gland is somehow stimulated also through sex.
Of course.
And if the pituitary gland, which is just here, and it's a small size little rice, I think, grain, if that's weak, then we feel disconnected from the world, we feel anxious, we feel depressed, we are disconnected from the partner. So the stronger is that pituitary gland, we are more, connected with people.
Yeah, I mean, Kundalini Yoga has been a huge part of this, to be able to get acquainted with my body, with movement, with breathing. All of these things help as well, channeling the energy up into the third eye. And like you're saying, as soon as you are igniting that pituitary gland, you are able to widen your consciousness and have these experiences that are usually drug-induced or usually substance-induced. But when it happens naturally, and then you are able to be conscious and control it, that's where the blend between your sexual energy, your pranic energy, is able to channel into these fantastic experiences, and it's available for free for everybody. I mean, what more do you want?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If life sucks, just turn to sex.
Well, or yeah. We'll leave it at that, Nigora, for the purpose of this.
Yes, we'll leave it at that. Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, Walid. You made me laugh. You gave me so much knowledge, and I'm so grateful. And I'm sure we've already also give lots of gifts to people who listened, and if they have any questions. And Rick was here with us all the way. Thank you, Rick. Hope you enjoyed it. So yes, if people have any questions, they can either contact you at Marandir, or they can attend events organized by any man movement.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Do you have any other topic that we can discuss in a couple of months, you and I again?
Let's discuss that offline.
Okay, thank you so much, Walid.
Bye,
Speak
Nigora.
to you
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.